Hey, we got highlights of Trousdale County going over to Nashville Christian, taking on the defending 1A state champions. That's Xavier Myers scoring from close up. He and Leland Wilhoy both with 100-yard games in this 43-20 Nashville Christian victory. Big win for the Eagles over there in Region 4 1A. Both these teams heading into the playoffs. That was Leland Wilhoy, finished up with 146 yards and 4 touchdowns for Nashville Christian. Jeff Brothers looking a little uncomfortable there. Not sure why in a 20-point win.
That gum was probably bothering him is what it was. He lost his flavor.
And he didn't want to spit it out on the ground.
You know how it is when you lose flavor in your gum. It gets you ticked off.
Yeah, but
nice
big pick off there by Jesse Watson, who also had a big 51-yard punt return for a touchdown in this one. Looks like he's going to try to house this one as well. Didn't quite get there.
Absolutely. You can see that coaching, though. That ball was high and tight, wasn't it?
You like that. Yeah. Fundamentals.
Exactly.
Xavier Myers.
Oh, you speaking of fundamentals. That's not funny.
as if on cue. Maybe he needs to take some lessons from Jesse on getting it high.
At least he recovered his own fumble.
Yeah. But
a little stutter step there before he finds the end zone.
Gets into the end zone again. Yeah.
Oh, they're trying to take a page out of UT's book. What is that? The Argyle end zone right there?
Well, that's Argyle. UT is checkerboard.
That's right. Oh, my goodness. Either way, designs.
Yeah. Yeah, a little geometrical stuff.
I like that. That's a big, powerful guy right there.
Yeah. Nice job by Nashville Christian.
Yeah, nice job by Nashville Christian. It's now time for our pull-apart peak. Our pull-apart peak performers is at the end of the show. Right now, it's our Price Point Furniture.
Where the price is the point.
Prep Rewind. And in the studio here, Rashad Johnson, safety for the Tennessee Titans, is cool enough to give us some of his time. Welcome into the program,
Thanks
Rashad.
For having
How you doing?
Me. Doing good. How you guys?
Doing well.
We were talking before the show actually started about your high school career and where you basically got started. And I was surprised to find you had a little jump shot in you before you went to play football.
I did. Right? Had a nice little jump shot, and one of the guys on the team that could slam it a little bit too. So a lot of the times they would call the alley-oops to me and get the crowd going. So yeah, I had a little baller in me.
How tall are you?
I'm about 5'11". So I was spud webbing it.
Okay. So was there any pressure on you basically to find out what you wanted to do in life? Did you really find yourself being a safety in the NFL, or did you see yourself being a Chris Paul of sorts?
No, I saw myself actually being a Barry Sanders in the NFL. I went into college as a running back when I went to Alabama. I walked on, had aspirations of playing running back, but my skills weren't good enough and had to change it over and readjusted, and now look at me and things worked out.
Yeah. So. Seems to have worked out. Rashad, you walked on at Alabama. Now we were talking again off camera before the show. West Alabama, Citadel saw you hoop and decided you could play some football. What kind of courage did it take to turn down those scholarships and walk on at Tuscaloosa?
It took a lot of courage to do that. It took a lot of faith. It took a lot of time in prayer, a lot of time talking to my family, and just understanding the situation that I was going to put them in. For me to turn down a free ride to now them having to, go into their savings and things like that to pay for my school, to chase my dreams. It was a lot of weight on my shoulders at that time to make sure that, I succeeded. And, it was the driving force each and every day. I just thought about, repaying my family and living a dream that, God had placed in my heart. And while I was there, I just worked each and every day and got better each and every day. And then, when I looked up, I was getting opportunity to be drafted.
Now, when you went in, were you going with the intention of, if I go here and I do well enough, I can get a scholarship, or were you resigned to being a walk-on for 4 years? What was your mindset going in?
Well, my first mindset was, I'm going in to get an education. University of Alabama has a great school. I want to make sure I get my degree. I want to make sure I keep my grades up like I did in high school. That was always something that was very important to me, something that my parents, drove in me young as a kid. So that was my first instinct. But then once I got there and got to playing and, trying to make it on the team, it was hard. And there were some times that I wanted to just leave and go to another school to where I could play and get a scholarship. So the idea was to get on the field and play and earn a scholarship. And, through the ups and downs of the first couple of years when I didn't get one, there was definitely times where I questioned to go to another school or to stick it out. I'm so glad that I stuck it out because there was so much growth and maturity, in my life during that moment.
Rashad, I was blessed enough to get a scholarship to Illinois as a tight end, and that's before I went to work at Long John Silver's and worked my way to tackle. But either way, I understood basically the difference between scholarship athletes and those that were actually trying to walk on. Walk-ons aren't allowed to eat at the training table. You know, there are certain things that they're not allowed to do as non-scholarship athletes. Did that make you hungrier in essence?
Literally.
Yeah. Basically trying to make a name for yourself and earn a scholarship.
It did. There was definitely, a lot of times where they got opportunity to, have the extra, like you said, the training table. They had the study hall where people would help them with the schools. And, there'd be times I'd be in practice and I'd see myself doing just as good or better than some of those guys and actually having more passion, to get it done than those guys because everything had been handed to them. So it definitely made me hungrier. It made me, fight harder each and every day. And, it definitely is a driving force that I have a chip on my shoulder now each and every day.
When did you finally get a scholarship?
It was after my first season of actually playing. So I redshirted my first year. The next season I played just on special teams, and I was going down as a gunner, kickoff. Coaches seeing me play well, and at that point, spring ball had come around, getting ready to prepare for a bowl game, and they asked me to move over to safety. And they said, if you move over, show us you can play, there's an opportunity this summer we can give you a scholarship. Let's do it.
Wasn't even a thought.
So I moved over, and the rest is history.
Go back to high school. Was your most memorable moment on the basketball court, or was it on the football field as a running back?
Oh, man, it's a really good question.
Was it hitting the J in the final seconds, or one of those air lobs you talking about?
Yeah,
lob cities,
it was actually a really big basketball game. My last home game in Sullivan, in my high school gym, we were playing New Hope or a team in Alabama. I can't remember. Anyway, I ended up having 3 dunks in this game. The first.
Hold on a second. You had 3 dunks?
3.
I thought you said you were 5'11".
I'm just saying, man. Hey, we can take the camera out back. I think there was a hoop down the street somewhere. But no, that was a game I had 3 dunks, and one of them was over a guy that was like 6'4", 6'5". Like it was crazy. The crowd ran out on the court, game stopped. So it was like a moment that you live for. You know what I'm saying? As a high school student, for sure.
Yeah, I had a moment like that. I was the guy that got dunked on though. So, no, I'm just kidding.
No, you're not.
No, actually, I got elbowed in the nose. I didn't know where I was on that dunk. Seriously, I'm not even kidding you. Yeah. But either way, so when you look back, you were part of the Shula regime, not the Nick Saban regime. Was there a noticeable, or is there a noticeable difference between the program that you came from as a Crimson Tide than the one that you see that's just ruling the college football atmosphere?
Well, I was fortunate enough to actually get a chance to play for both. I started off with Shula, and then my junior and senior year, Coach Saban came along, and I was able to play under Saban for 2 years. There definitely was a difference in their style. Coach Shula, great coach, great guy. Just a little bit more of a professional style coach, of more leeway with the players, more freedom, not as much of a demanding schedule or accountability of the guys, you can say. But with Nick Saban, he came in and he just drew a line. This is how it's done. If you don't do it, you're going to be gone regardless if you're a coach, player, water girl, it don't matter. The trainer, it doesn't matter. Everybody's on board. This is how it's done. And, it was something that we needed. We needed structure. We had a lot of talent, but didn't have enough structure around us. And, when he came and implemented that, you've seen how it's blossomed now.
Hey, when we come back, we're going to find out how the transition from the Cardinals to the Titans has been for our in-studio guest, Rashad Johnson. Stick around, more from the Zander Insurance Countdown to Friday when we come back.